and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. Today we're going to be going over the Shadow Priest for Battle for Azeroth. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and jump into the abilities and the talents, and we'll take a look at a basic rotation for the Shadow Priest, and we'll see how it's doing for the new expansion. Alright, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, let me see. Actually switch that over. There we go. So first you have your Dispel Magic, which dispels magic on the enemy target, removing one beneficial magic effect. That's your basic dispel on the target. Then you have Dispersion, disperse into pure shadow energy, reducing all damage taken by 60% for 6 seconds, but you are unable to attack or cast spells. Clears all movement impairing effects and makes you immune to them while dispersed. Void Form's Insanity Drain is temporarily reduced by 100% while dispersed. Castable while stunned, feared, or silenced. So, as far as for a PvE standpoint, what you can do with Disperse, say you're in a dungeon, you're in Void Form, tank's moving up to the next pack, you don't want to lose your Insanity, you just Disperse, move over to them, and then when you pop out, you're still at full Insanity and ready to go. Alright, Fade. Fade out, removing all threat for 10 seconds. Great for affixes like Skittish when you're Mythic Plus, so you can remove your threat and continue on. Alright, Leap of Faith is now baseline for all Priest specs, so you have it in Shadow as well. It pulls the spirit of the party or raid member, instantly moving them directly in front of you. Very useful. I recommend making a mouse over macro for that one, so you can just click on the person and pull them right to you. You have your Levitate. You also have your Mass Dispel, which has been baseline for quite a while. Then next up you have Mind Blast. Blast the target's mind for shadow damage. Generates 14 Insanity. Mind Bomb is a talent. We'll go over that later. It actually replaces Psychic Stream. Mind Control. Controls the mind up to one level above yours for 30 seconds. Does not work versus demonic, mechanical, or undead beings. Shares diminishing returns with other disorienting effects. You have your Mind Flay. Assaults the target's mind with shadow energy, causing shadow damage over 2.6 seconds, and slowing their movement speed by 50%. Very basic spell, but it works great. It is channeled ability, not casted. Mind Seer is now back as an actual ability. Corrosive shadow energy radiates from the target, dealing 1,260 shadow damage over 2.6 seconds to all enemies within 10 yards of the target. So, you got a group over here. Tank pulls a big group, throw out your couple dots, then you just Mind Seer, and there's your AoE. Very simple, very easy. Way better now that they changed it back to what it originally was. It was terrible in Legion. Okay, Mind Vision. Allows the caster to see through the target's eyes for 1 minute. Will not work if the target is in another instance or another continent. This does work on friendly players. Have not found a use for it actually, but it is something fun to play with. You have your Power Word Fortitude. This is your group-wide buff. Increase the target with vitality, increasing their stamina by 10% for 1 hour. If the target is in your party or raid, all party or raid members will be affected. You have Power Word Shield. Shields an ally for 15 seconds, absorbing damage and preventing damage from delaying spell casting. Very nice to actually keep that on yourself as much as possible when you have a free global cooldown. Also throw it on somebody who's standing on fire. You can be a little bit helpful there. Also, because of a talent of Body and Soul, it also increases movement speed. So also keep that in mind if you take that talent. Okay, Purify Disease. Remove all disease effects from the friendly target. So as Shadow, you can purify diseases. You have your Resurrection, which is your basic single target spell, res. Shackle Undead. Shackles the target undead enemy for 50 seconds, preventing all actions and movement. Damage will cancel the effect. Limit to 1. You have your Shadow Mend. This is your basic heal, as in shadow form. Wraps an ally in shadows, which heal for 4,000, but at a price. The ally will take 196 damage every 1 second until they have taken 1,961 total damage from all sources or leave combat. Shadow Word Pain. This is one of your main dots. A word of darkness that causes 310 shadow damage instantly and an additional 2,800 shadow damage over 16 seconds, and it generates 4 insanity every time it ticks. Alright, Shadow Fiend. Summon a shadowy fiend to attack the target for 15 seconds. Generates 3 insanity each time the shadow fiend attacks. You have your Shadow Form. Assume a shadow form, increasing your spell damage dealt by 10% and reducing your physical damage by 10%. I'm not sure why they still make this a toggle. There's no reason not to ever have it on as shadow, but it's still a toggleable effect. Silence. Silence the target, preventing them from casting spells for 4 seconds against non-players. Also interrupts spellcasting, prevents any spell in that school from being cast for 4 seconds. This is your basic interrupt on a 45-second cooldown, so make sure you bear in mind that you're either the first to go in rotation or you're a last resort if you need it. A Vampiric Embrace fills you with the embrace of shadow energy for 15 seconds, causing you to heal a nearby ally for 85% of any single target shadow spell damage you deal. Healers getting in trouble, you pop your Vampiric Embrace, start going ham on the target, you start doing some healing for the group. There's nice little help out there. Vampiric Touch, a touch of darkness that causes 4100 shadow damage over 21 seconds and heals you for 50% of the damage dealt. If Vampiric Touch is dispelled, the dispeller flees in horror for 3 seconds. It's obviously more for PvP on that last part, but it's also none of your basic dots. If you pay attention, this one is not instant cast, it does have a 1.3 second cast time. Void Eruption, release an explosive blast of pure void energy, activating void form and causing 3300 shadow damage to all enemies within 10 yards of your target. During void form, this ability is replaced by Void Bolt. Now, this has changed since Legion. It used to explode. The explosive blast used to hit everyone hit by your Shadow Word that was affected by your Shadow Word Pain. Now it is only enemies within 10 yards of your target. So do pay attention to that. It is a little bit more condensed now on the AoE. Your mastery is Madness. Increase the damage of your Shadow Word Pain, Vampiric Touch, Mind Blast, Mind Flame, Mind Seer, Void Eruption, and Void Bolt by 32.8%. The passive of Shadowy Apparitions. When your Shadow Word Pain damage over time critically strikes, you also create a shadowy version of yourself that floats towards the target and deals 778 shadow damage. Your Void Bolt. This is for when you're in shadow form. Your Void Eruption turns to Void Bolt. Sends a bolt of pure void energy at the enemy, causing 2,480 shadow damage and extending the duration of Shadow Word Pain and Vampiric Touch on all nearby targets by 2 seconds. Generates 16 insanity. Then you have what is your Void form. After casting Void Eruption, activated by casting Void Eruption, it twists your shadow form with the powers of the Void, increasing your spell damage by 10%, reducing the cooldown on Mind Blast by 1.5 seconds, and granting you an additional 0.5% haste every 1 second. Your insanity will drain increasingly fast until it reaches 0 and Void form ends. So as you can see, you start generating insanity. You see it down here, you got this bar down here. By casting your spells and your damage abilities. Now I have it set up right now with a talent that I can activate Void form at 60 right now. Activate Void form, there's Void Eruption, boom. And you just keep it going. And as you see, I'm generating extra haste. And it actually looks really cool. Alright, let's jump into the talent section and see how we can change this about around a little bit. Alright, so here we are. We have in the level 15 talents, we have Fortress of the Mind. Mind Flay and Mind Blast deal 10% more damage and generate 20% more insanity. Shadowy Insight. Shadow Word Pain periodic damage has a chance to reset the remaining cooldown on Mind Blast and cause your next Mind Blast to be instant. Shadow Word Void replaces Mind Blast. Blast a target with a word of Void for shadow damage. Generates 15 insanity and maximum of 2 charges. A 7.8 second recharge. As you can see, Mind Blast has a 6.5 second cooldown. Shadow Word Void has a 7.8 second recharge. Hits a little bit harder, generates a little bit more insanity. I'm not sure if it'll actually outweigh Fortress of the Mind, but we'll wait to see when the numbers get tweaked a little more and see what actually happens here. Level 30, you have Mania. Increase your movement speed up to 35% based on your current insanity. You have Body and Soul. Power Word Shield increases your target's movement speed by 40%. So like I was saying, catch your Power Word Shield, make sure that's on you. You always have your shield, you always have delayed spell casting reduction, and then you also have a little bit of movement speed. San Lin reduces the cooldown on Vampiric Embrace by 45 seconds and increases its healing done by 25%. Obviously, this has to do with group composition. If you need a little bit extra healing, or if you need little cooldown for a raid, something like that, Sand Limb will do the job for you. Level 45, you have Twist of Fate. After damaging a target below 35% health, you gain 10% increased damage and healing for 8 seconds. Very nice. Where you see low health mobs, you just throw a Shadow Word Pain on them. Bam, you're going to get that. You're going to keep that. Great for dungeons. Misery. Vampiric Touch also implies Shadow Word Pain to the target. That frees up global cooldowns. A lot of them. If you take that, cast one Vampiric Touch, it's actually going to get Shadow Word Pain on it as well. And you have Dark Void. Unleash an explosion of dark energy around the target, dealing shadow damage and applying Shadow Word Pain to all nearby enemies. Great for if you're in dungeons with big packs. You can just throw out a Dark Void, and then bam, they all have Shadow Word Pain. Then you throw up your Vampiric Touches, your Mind Seers, and do all that for your AoE. Level 60, you have Last Word. Reduce the cooldown of silence by 15 seconds. So, I don't even think I have it on my bars right now. You go to silence, it's a 45-second cooldown. You can bring that down to 30 seconds. And you have Mind Bomb. It replaces your Psychic Scream, inflicts the target with Mind Bomb after 2 seconds if the target dies. After 2 seconds, or if the target dies, it unleashes a Psychic Explosion, fearing all enemies within 8 yards of the target for 5 seconds. Now, this used to be a stun, now it's a fear, so I'm not sure if they're going to stand in place or if they're going to run around, but you got to keep that in mind. Psychic Horror. Terrifies the target in place, stunning them for 4 seconds. It's on a 45-second cooldown. Level 75, you have Auspicious Spirits. Your shadowy apparitions now deal 100% increased damage and generate 2 insanity. You have Shadow Word Death, a word of dark binding that inflicts 3,000 shadow damage to the target, only usable on enemies that have less than 20% health. It generates 15 insanity or 30 insanity if the target dies, and it has 2 charges. Now, this used to be a baseline spell. It is now a talent strictly. Shadow Crash. Hurl a bolt of slow-moving energy, shadow energy, at destination, dealing 2,000 shadow damage to all targets within 8 yards. Generates 20 insanity. Great burst AoE. Level 90. You have Lingering Insanity. When void form ends, its haste bonus fades by 1% every second instead of ending immediately. Mindbender replaces your Shadow Fiend. Summon a Mindbender to attack the target for 15 seconds. Generates 6 insanity each time the Mindbender attacks. If you remember the Shadow Fiend down here, he only generates 3 insanity each time he attacks. So the Mindbender will do a little bit extra more damage, generate a little bit more insanity. The last talent is not there yet, still coming soon. And level 100, Legacy of the Void. Void Eruption's cast time is reduced by 40% and may be cast anytime your insanity level is 60 or higher. You have Void Torrent. This used to be your artifact ability. Channel a torrent of void energy into the target, dealing 6,000 shadow damage over 4 seconds. Insanity does not drain during this channel, so it will actually give you an extra 2% haste because you're not draining the insanity for over that 4 seconds, and you gain 0.5% every second. Surrender to Madness. All your insanity generating abilities generate 100% more insanity, and you can cast while moving for 1 minute. Then you take damage equal to 90% of your maximum health and cannot generate insanity for 30 seconds. Now just remember, it's not actually going to kill you now like it used to. It used to kill you when you used it. Now it's just going to drop you down to 90% health, but then you cannot generate insanity for 30 seconds. So just remember that. So it's still usable. We'll wait to see how it actually pairs up when people do the numbers and do the spreadsheets and all that, and if it's actually viable. It's on a 4-minute cooldown. Alright, so now we have the talents figured out. We got the abilities figured out. I just took most of the basic passes, so what we're going to do is going to do a basic rotation for the Shadow Priest so you can see how it all works together. Alright, so the main thing is you want to keep your dots up, which would be your Vampiric Touch and your Shadow Word Pain. So you put up your Vampiric Touch, put up your Shadow Word Pain. In your fillers, you have Mind Flay and Mind Blast. So basically, get your dots up, Mind Blast on cooldown, then Mind Flay in between. Once you hit 60 insanity, you do Void Eruption, and you have Void Bolts and your Mind Blast and Mind Flay in between. Very basic rotation. As you can see, just keep that insanity going, and we're out. We got 17 stacks, so we've got still got some haste. Make sure your dots are still applied. And rinse and repeat. Not too bad, not too bad. Alright, now let's say you have an AoE situation. Get your dots up on the targets. Then you can start mind searing away. Instead of mind flay, use mind seared, then you have your void eruption. And you do the same thing as you did before. If there's a lot of targets, just mind sear and void bolt. I'm not exactly what the exact number is on that, but let me see how it goes. That's your basic rotation. Obviously, you change things around. If you take Dark Void or Shadow Word Void, things will change a little bit. Same thing with Shadow Crash and Shadow Word Death and Void Torrent, but you get the basics of it. So there you have it. That is the new Battle for Azeroth Shadow Priest in its current state. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Just make sure you watch the stream. It is twitch.tv/venison85. We're going to be doing giveaways for WoW pets and mounts and stuff like that that's in the Blizzard shop. So make sure you pay attention, follow that so you can have a chance at winning those. So I do want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.